Mail everybody. I'm gonna try to do the jingle here because last time I didn't do it with my impromptu live stream. I got complaints about it, so here it goes. Mail everybody. I'm Cantonese Cat. Hi. Um, I started here a little bit early, about a minute early. I think there's a chart request on a couple of stock over here. I'm just going to get them out of the way, and then we can talk a little bit about what we like to talk about here for a second. One of the stock that I was requested to do was this one. I was kind of looking at it a little bit earlier. I don't generally like to chase big giant green candles like this. If you just kind of look at the this is ASPN. I want to request a chart. If you just look at the Bollinger Bands over here, like it's just way outside of the Bollinger Band. This can keep going on for a very long time, but you never know. I mean, like it could end up keep on pushing like months and months and months ahead, right? Like there's always a possibility, but it has also got a very, very nice up curl. And this is a monthly chart, by the way. It's also got a very nice up curl in 20-month moving average. And it's got accelerated just now. So it's a very, very powerful bull trend. But I do worry about that because this reminds me of a lot of other stocks that have done that recently, and a lot of people getting punished for it. It's basically got a very, very same look as MicroStrategy. Is it going to go sideways from here on out? Is it going to end up going higher before going sideways over there? It's a little bit tough, to tell that. But if you are going back to that chart over here, if you're going back to the chart over here, there's a potential for it to kind of go up a little bit higher, sure, but I just don't like the fact that it's so overextended. It is having a little bit of a bullish cross on the Ichimoku cloud with the Tenkan line over here and the Kijun line over here. Tenkan has basically been flipped from resistance to support now. So this looks like it's a pretty powerful bull trend, but it might potentially cool down here a little bit before going further. And the cool down period can last, maybe longer than you like, just because this, how big and powerful this candle has been. Yeah, I don't know if I would necessarily enter this one as it is, but don't let me stop you from making money though. I mean, you could end up going up higher, but eventually it's going to go sideways or back down before going higher, and I think it's due for a little bit of a cool down. If you look at the you just look at the Fibonacci level, from like the high over here down to the low over here, I think there's a potential for it to hit the level right around here where there's some history over here around like 28 bucks, before really seriously getting some rejection, some pretty brutal sideways before going up further. Just something to kind of think about. But this is a good look. It's basically just bounced from the black support band, and it's probably just going to go up higher, but it's probably going to wait for the technicals to kind of catch up here in a little bit. Yeah, I do want to. So that's my thought. Like, when I enter this, I think like right now there's probably not much meat left on the bone if you are into trading again. Like none of this is financial advice, I'm just kind of telling you what I think. The other one to kind of look into was TMDX. And I just want to kind of get this out of the way too. I generally don't like the monthly gap opening like this. This is generally a little bit, scary to me. And a monthly gap I just recently saw was in UiPath and got close, right? So I generally don't see monthly gap like that. It's rather unusual. So if you see monthly gap kind of gap up like that, it's a little bit, cautionary, if you will. And it doesn't mean it's not going to go up higher if there's any fundamental to potentially support that. That's fine. But I just worry about a candle in space like that. The same thing, right? Candles closing way about, or not closing, just starting in May, just way outside of the Bollinger Band. It does get me a little bit worried, when you have things like kind of going way outside of the Bollinger Band like this. Sometimes it takes months to kind of go sideways before pushing price up, and I always worry about big giant red candles like this, like mean reversion, right? So just be a little bit careful. But obviously, if the fundamental checks out, don't let me stop you from making money. So anyway, I just wanted to answer that because that was a super chat. So I do want to make a few disclaimer. Thank you for joining my live stream. So first of all, I'm not sure if, hey, charting guy, how are you doing? I'm not sure if I'll be able to do this on a regular basis. The reason why I'm doing this is because Mrs. Cat has gone out of town to see her in-law, to see my in-laws, and therefore I'm not really taking care of myself. I did shower today, but I'm not really, taking care of myself entirely. I I'm actually a little bit sleep deprived, and I am trying to take care of a cat at the same time. So if you hear some meows on the background, it's probably because I've been ignoring the cat for like the last couple of hours. So I do want to do a few talks here. There are a couple of topics I want to talk about. One is China. Another one is Palantir, which is going to have earnings coming up pretty soon. I can talk about Bitcoin miners. I can talk about fintech stocks. I can talk about altcoins. I can see that there are already a few, requests here already, but I do want to have a theme here. So I'm going to start out with just talking about China here for maybe, for a few minutes here. I do want to kind of share you my thoughts as to why I'm not really looking to get into Chinese stocks, and it doesn't mean that the technicals are bad or anything. Actually, matter of fact, I think it's quite the opposite. I actually think that the technical is actually getting better in terms of Chinese stocks, but there's a reason why I'm not necessarily entering that. And part of the reason is if you just compare SPX, and if I add the Hang Seng Index fund, there's a reason that I'm not entering, because if you just look at the trend, like I'd rather stay in the US. There are going to be periods where Chinese stocks are going to outperform, and when it does, it's incredible, right? But every single time when Chinese stocks go up, US stocks also go up. This is S&P 500 here in the blue, and this orange right here is the Hang Seng Index fund. So every single time when you have Hang Seng going up, US stocks goes up, right? The problem is when the Hang Seng goes down, US stocks can also go up, but whenever the US stock goes down, Hang Seng always goes down. Like there's almost like no exception. Whenever US stock goes down, Hang Seng goes down. And whenever US stock goes up, Hang Seng can still go down, right? So is that always going to be the case? Is Chinese stocks going to make a comeback and actually end up outperforming for a longer term? I don't know. All I know is that if Chinese government, if they're printing money, if there's going to be increase in global liquidity, I'm pretty sure that the money is going to flow into like US stocks, because they're probably going to have a lot of outflow from China over to the US. And there's always going to be money pouring into Bitcoin. So I think that, to have Bitcoin exposure probably is a good idea if you're suspecting Chinese liquidity is going to increase, and it's going to end up increasing, global liquidity overall. This is just a chart to kind of give you an idea. Like I don't care about the politics. I don't care about all that. Like I'm apolitical when it comes to trying to analyze this kind of stuff. There are a lot of people who feel very strongly about it. I can totally see why, but I'm staying out of that. All I'm really saying is that even though the technicals are looking better for the Hang Seng, I still get worried. Like if you look at Hang Seng, actually, you can see that it does have a little bit of like a trend line over here during the entire bear market. I mean, the bear market already started over here, but if you look at over here, there's a trend line over here, and it's starting to break out above of it. It does have a little bit of very nice, kind of like Adam and Eve kind of look to it, but none of this has to necessarily work out, right? So I don't know. I mean, if there's increase in global liquidity, there's no doubt at all in my mind that like the US is having a bull market, on the NASDAQ, on the S&P 500, even small caps are really starting to kind of pick up. So there's a reason why I'm not in it. Now, there are a lot of Chinese stocks that just recently have made a lot of gains, and I do think that BABA actually is starting to actually look pretty good. But again, I'm not really going to enter in it because I don't feel that strongly about it. Just because I think there's no sure thing here. I mean, it looks like it's a borrowing formation, but there's no sure thing here. And if you look at the 20-month moving average, it's actually looking better. Like I was worried about the 20-month moving average continue to serve as resistance, but actually it's starting to flatten, and it looks like it's challenged the 20-month moving average once, twice, and perhaps a third time over here. Hey, what's going on? It's trying to challenge it a third time over here, right? But it's still right at resistance. I mean, granted, it's flattening, so I think it's probably going to be a lot weaker resistance as it was down here, as it was really downtrending. It's going to be pretty strong resistance. Sure enough, got rejected. Bam, bam, right? Is the third time going to be a charm? Possible. can you potentially look at maybe a breakout and go up to triple digits? That's possible, considering how long it's been accumulating or how long it's been going sideways over here. But I just like it'll be more like a trade. Like it can go up a lot higher, but it'll be more like a trade to me. And I'm okay. I'm just going to wait for money to flow into U.S. equities and flow into Bitcoin this cycle. That's kind of how I feel about it. There are a couple other stocks that are pretty hot too. There are some bottoming-ish kind of look to Neil, but I don't feel too strongly about going to Neil because the 20-month moving average is still slamming down like that. You do have like a little hammer bottom over here, which is generally a pretty good hammer bottom candle, but you also have these hammer bottoms over here that didn't really work out, right? So you're still gonna have a lot more resistance. You have Bollinger Band squeezing, so maybe there's some trend change coming soon. It's going to be pretty pretty strong, but I'm not really seeing it. Same thing with XPEF, although for XPeng actually is flattening out here, the 20-month moving average, so it's actually looking pretty good. One Chinese stock is actually looking pretty good is actually Pinduoduo PDD. But anyway, like there are some better looking. I still wouldn't enter JD. It still look pretty down and still going to have a lot of resistance. So I'm a little bit worrisome about Chinese stocks. So I'm not really sure whether or not this is something I want to enter. If you want to enter as a trade, that's fine. I just there's always some things to consider in terms of getting bullish at resistance. I just generally don't like that. But I like the volume. I mean, this volume is very, very nice, and I like the fact that it's getting closer and closer to the 20-month moving average. I like this starting to curl, a little bit flat over here a little bit. So there are a lot of things maybe to start to like about it. But if I enter, it would be more for a trade. I wouldn't stay for a long time because of like S&P 500, because of like NASDAQ and, because of Bitcoin. So that's just one thought. Thank you so much, y'all, for coming in. I see a couple of charts requests here. I'm gonna try to fulfill them as much as I can. There's the SPIR. I have no idea what any of these things are. Whew, look at this crazy chart. I'm gonna change it back into log scale so my eyes don't go crazy. Turning bullish. This is the monthly chart. I mean, just look at the Bollinger Band. It tells you exactly what it's doing. It's challenging the 20-month moving average, turn it flat. Now it's spending about 4 months on the upper part of the Bollinger Band. Looks like it's forming a very nice bull flag over here. This volume is absolutely insane, and it's just kind of probably got way too far, way too fast about the upper Bollinger Band. It's just need time to kind of cool down here a little bit. The Ishimoku cloud is is also confirming a bullish cross over here in the month of April, and price is currently underneath of that, but you might end up kind of going around here for a little bit longer before going up. I mean, I think I like this look actually. If you look at the weekly, you can see like it's just bouncing off the boomer support band. I mean, this all looks very promising so far. I don't know anything about it though, so I'm not necessarily pushing it to enter it or anything like that. Let's see if I can pull up the volume shelf over here, the anchored volume profile. I'm just going to do it from here. And yeah, there's still a little bit of resistance up here. You might need maybe another few weeks, maybe a little bit longer to push above this resistance because there's a big volume shelf over here, just because there's a lot of volume being traded over here from 2022. You also have like a lot of hard time kind of breaking above this zone right here, which is why this big giant volume cannot happen. But anyway, I think it's probably going to do okay, but it might end up getting rejected here for quite some time. I mean, this reminds me of CipherMining. Really, like it's bouncing off of a bull support band, hitting some pretty strong resistance over here, and just kind of go sideways for like a whole year. I'm not sure if that's necessarily a good thing to wait for. I'll be a little bit worrisome about it. I'm going to do a couple of chart reviews, and then I'm going to talk about Palantir. Man, how do people talk nonstop? I don't understand how people do that. But This is the monthly chart for SKYE. Again, I know nothing about it. There are a lot of people requesting a lot of biotech stocks. I don't know. Let's put some of the indicators over here. I mean, it's trying to make a higher high compared to all these highs over here, which is always a good thing. It's might signify potential trend change. And you put up the Bollinger Band, it's telling you what I was just telling you. Bollinger Band has been kind of downtrending really ever since like 2019. It hasn't really pointed up until right around a couple months ago, right? So right now it's trying to go up, but it's being restricted by the upper Bollinger Band. It probably needs the Bollinger Band to continue to expand, forming a little bit of a bull flag over here, although I don't know what happened to this crazy volume over here. But it looks like it's forming a little bit of a bull flag over here. I'm just going to pull on the volume shelf profile. Yeah, it's stuck at this range over here. It really needs to kind of break through. It might take some time. But it's looking good. I mean, that's kind of all I have to really say about it. Ichimoku Cloud and monthly bullish cross. It's got a little bit of a fusion between the Tenkan and the Kijun, and it might be building up some energy trying to push above this volume shelf and into the bottom of the cloud over here. But if you end up buying here, you might end up keep testing the Tenkan Kijun right here around like $10, maybe even go back below, which is what it's been doing. But I think eventually it's probably going to end up building enough energy to kind of push back above and try to challenge the cloud over here. And when it do that, you might end up hitting resistance here, but that might be like 2x from where it is at right now. So anyway, I'm totally not a trader. I don't even know why I'm talking like a trader, but that's what I'm seeing. Yeah, it's bouncing off the bull market support band. Like this is a pretty decent look to it, but there's no guarantee, of course, right? I'm probably going to skip the other one. Actually, BEGI. I'm going to do this. I'm going to start talking about Palantir a little bit. I looked at this before. I don't even remember. Ichimoku Cloud. Bullish cross happening. Yeah, that's basically it. I mean, like I've done this before. There's nothing new. There's a bullish cross that's happening right now, but price is underneath both the Tenkan and Kijun. So I don't know. It's going to probably end up, being resistance over here, but resistance not until like double the price from where it is right now. So it's looking like a very, very nice kind of cup and handle type formation. And if you pull up the Bollinger Band, it's looking pretty interesting too. Like it's looking like it's starting to crawl up here a little bit. It hasn't really crawled up until really since like 2018. So I would say this is a potential bullish development, but is this just going to be one of these kind of thing and it just keeps going down? I don't know. Like this looks like a cup over here, right? This looks like a cup over here. I like the fact that it's trying to bounce up. It didn't really do that over here and just kept going down. But I also don't like the fact that the volume's dropping. So yeah, I don't know what to make of it. I think it's turning bullish, but I'd like to see more confirmation, I guess is what I'm trying to say. If it ends up, getting to the upper Bollinger Band again, or if it ends up, getting close to the Tenkan and Kijun and maybe even get back above and back test it, then I think it might be a good area to enter. But right now, I still get scared, even though it's forming, I don't even know if I can call this a higher high because like the last high was here. But it's forming a higher low, so that's a little bit promising. But this is generally how a potential bull trend can start, but there's no confirmation, I guess. All right, guys, I'm going to pass over the chart request here for a second. I do want to talk about Palantir real quick. As you know, I've been talking about Palantir for a very long time. It really seems like 2 years ago. The monthly chart has just been forming higher lows and higher highs. It's forming these bull flag with just 2 months, and then every earning it just keeps on pushing up and up and up. And the momentum seems to be increasing in terms of the buying volume after that. The selling volume has been declining. Right now, we're just simply getting rejected because there's a lot of price history over here for about a whole year from like 2020 to 2021. And we're getting some rejection over here. That's understandable. But it really depends on what the earnings shows. And also, there's also a trend where Wall Street doesn't really care about earnings. Sometimes it just wants to do what it wants to do. But for Palantir, I think it might be a little bit different because it's building up a lot of bullish energy in terms of buying volume being very high, selling volume being very low. And you're basically forming like these inside candles over here, which basically favors bullish continuation. Right now you have another, not technically it's not inside candle over this one, but it's a very, very similar concept as the last one. I think you're getting pretty close to a potential breakout out of this zone right here, but depends on earnings reaction, because you are looking at a very strong resistance level over here, a very strong volume shelf over here. I keep saying that I think Palantir look like MicroStrategy. I think we might be like somewhere over here, because MicroStrategy also spent about a whole year right around this range, formed a big giant volume shelf over here, and it didn't take too long for it to kind of push up. But can you imagine if you bought over here like 700 and price chart all the way down to like 400, you have like a bearish engulfing candle, you're gonna freak out, I don't think the same thing's happening with Palantir, but also because it's funny thing is it's not as volatile as MicroStrategy, so I'm not sure whether or not you're going to have the reward that comes with a lack of downside here over the last couple of months. But this looks like a very, very nice bull trend. Like there's no debating that. Just pulling out some of my favorite indicators, Bollinger Band, it's just been cooling down because it closed February outside of upper Bollinger Band. It's just been cooling down here underneath this resistance over here. I do think that once we break over this resistance, we're talking about like the high 20s, possibly even like 30 on top of this big giant volume shelf over here. I do think that price can go up in a hurry. Like there's really not much resistance up here. This is kind of a little bit of all air. Now, can it hit some of the technicals that I do not yet foreseen? For example, maybe there's some Fibonacci level above that I need to pay attention to that could end up forming a volume shelf. If it ends up breaking above, that's entirely possible, right? Palantir so far is kind of touching 0.5 over here, got rejected by it, and then next thing you know, it went to the next Fibonacci level, got supported by it, right? And right now it's just kind of somewhere in the middle. If it pushes above, it could hit 30 in a hurry, which is going to be around the top of this volume shelf. There's still going to be some resistance over here, and you might end up finding some resistance, could end up back testing, going down before going further. Possible. Do I think it's going to go up to 40 in a hurry like I said it would like 2 years ago? No. I mean, I don't think it's going to be absolutely insane if you end up getting a candle like this that breaks through like 3 or 4 Fibonacci levels above to to get to like my crazy price target from like 2 years ago. For early 2024, I don't think it's going to happen, but you never say never. Yeah, Palantir earning is Monday, and there's a lot of activity. Like people have been buying calls and puts and all over the place. And yeah, and so far, fundamentally speaking, I think it's going to be a pretty good earnings based on everything that we're seeing, based on everything that we're hearing. The question is more what the street's reaction is. I mean, it even closed higher after hours. So yeah, I think we're hitting some resistance. Could earning end up pushing back up here to like just 25, and then maybe eventually could stick some of that kind of work for these resistance up here to go further? Possibly, right? Could it pull a MicroStrategy and just kind of push all the way up to like 30 or like $36? I mean, entirely possible. I don't know. Can it go down to 15? Probably not. I probably not. But if it does do that, it would still be a higher low on a greater scheme of things. So I would still be buying, to be honest, right? Again, I already took a look at the Bollinger Band, Ichimoku Cloud. One reason why I think that we found pretty good footing is because during a bull market, it flips the tank in the blue line over here from resistance to support on the monthly chart. And right now, we just basically have this bull flag over here on low volume, declining volume, back testing the tanking. So I think we're getting ready to coil upwards is my best guess, right? Bullish cross over here a few months ago as tailwind. There's a potential it could go up higher. So that's kind of what I'm seeing here. I think the below support band also is going to, it's also going to be another very supportive thing here. It basically has been bounding below support band. It's doing exactly what the name is supposed to do. It also serves as a bear market resistance band, but right now it's a bull market, so it's serving as support band. Has been pushing price up higher as a result. So because of that, I think the price is probably going to end up going a lot higher. If you are an Elliott wave kind of person, which I'm not, I can see that this is setting up as something absolutely ridiculous, because basically I think this over here might be like, actually, no, I don't even want to do Elliott wave. But I think that there could be a potential where like wave 3 which is the longest and most powerful wave could be coming. I'm just speculating here because I'm not a wave kind of cat. So yeah, the weekly Ichimoku cloud is not going to tell you too much. Is the Super Ichi cloud going to tell me anything? Not really. It's just kind of in space. It's above the cloud. It's looking pretty good. I always like to pull up the 2-week cloud now, because sometimes I see things that I did not expect to see. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything that's really giving me too much important information here. The key thing, though, is that things are looking pretty bullish. And I also show you, I think, you can draw a fork over here, and it looks like it's just been like a channel going up like this. I'm pretty positive, because selling volume over here is also declining too. Look at the weekly, So I think that Palantir is probably setting up for another move up. It's my best guess. Anything else I'm missing, though? I think I'm pretty good. Now I'm gonna take a sip of water. Been talking half an hour nonstop. I honestly don't see how people do it. Let me pull back up here and do some chart requests. I think I was asked about GME. Oh boy, GME. It's been forming lower highs and lower lows. It's still technically a bear trend. So far, we haven't really formed a higher high to really tell us that there's a trend change just yet, despite this very, very bullish candle that went up like 50%, right? But let's take a look at some, instead of just me yapping, let's take a look at some of the things that will show you what I mean by that. If you pull up the monthly chart and you do the Bollinger Band, price is just simply riding the Bollinger Band on the lower part of the Bollinger Band below the 20-month moving average downwards, right? I don't know whether or not there's going to be any bottom confirmation here, because there isn't any. And look at what it did over here. Every single time you thought it was bottom, you had these big giant bounces over here. You have big giant bounces over here, and it just kept going down. The trend is still not favorable. I think I would feel a lot different if there's a bottoming process and the 20-month moving average is starting to kind of flatten a little bit. I would feel a lot more confident about it. Let me see if I pull up some momentum indicator, if I pull up RSI and see, yeah, like there's no like bullish divergence or anything like that I can see here for me to support a bottoming process. Like right now, if anything, I worry that there might be like a little bit of a bearish divergence where, price relatively down, but RSI is going up, so I would not enter it. That's just my own personal opinion based on looking at technicals. And if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, it's trying to break above the Tenkan line, but the Tenkan line is pointing down, so it's probably going to serve as resistance. Really like to see it truly break above and maybe turn a 20 moving average flat a little bit, back test and go up higher. But so far, there's no confirmation that this is the case. You're gonna get me in trouble, TLRY. I'm not gonna say what this stock is. TLRY actually doesn't look bad. I haven't looked at this for a very long time. This actually doesn't look bad because of the volume. Like buying volume's been going up, selling volume's been going down. Buying volume up, selling volume down, buying volume up. It actually looks like a pretty decent kind of like a bottoming type process. Like the fact that Tenkan is no longer like sloping way down on this monthly chart. Is still getting rejected like crazy though, but looks like it's trying to get back above. So it could keep trying. There's no bottoming confirmation, but it looks like a potential bottoming process. Looking at the volume, this looks pretty nice, right? Looking at the 20-month moving average on the Bollinger Band, it looks like it's trying. It's not flat yet. It's not on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, but it looks like it's trying. So if you want to catch a falling knife, if you really believe in this sector, if you really like what you're seeing, maybe. Certainly beats buying it over here at 300. All right, so those are the couple of Chart reviews. United Health. Yeah, I don't even know what to make of it. Yeah, I don't like that. I mean, it's just basically range bound. And right now we're at the bottom of the range. So if you're a trader, you might be in paradise. But yeah, I don't know in terms of what to expect because the selling volume has been kind of increasing. It gets me a little bit concerning, although I do like these kind of candles over here. That's like, these are potentially bottoming type candle, but there's no confirmation. I'm not really seeing any like bearish or bullish divergences here on the RSI. And if you pull up some of the indicators, it looks like you might be starting to get a little bit of a bearish crossover here on the Ichimoku cloud. What ends up happening usually with these kinds of things is it might end up backtesting the cloud somehow on the monthly. Yeah, like whenever you start to get a little bit of like a bearish crossover here, you might end up backtesting the cloud. So you can end up going sideways and backtest, or you can end up dropping and backtesting it. I'm not sure, but it's starting to look weaker and weaker. It's a little bit concerning. Look at the 20-month moving average, same thing, right? On a bull trend, price should kind of ride along the up Bollinger Band. On a bear trend, I don't know. It could ride down, right? It's getting rejected here by a negative curling 20-month moving average, and looks like there's a risk for trend change. Like, can it be a bottoming process, kind of like what it did over here? Possible. It only takes maybe 3 big giant green candles to really reverse the trend and keep going up again. But I'm not sure. Like right now, there's no confirmation, so I'll probably end up staying away. Oh boy. People ask about Dogecoin. I've been on Doge for a very, very long time, or at least talk about Doge for a very, very long time. Probably not. I probably shouldn't pull up the Coinbase one. I probably should pull up the TradingView one. Coinbase, no, sorry, Dogecoin. What Dogecoin is doing is what it has been doing over the last few cycles. You really only have 2 cycles here in the past for Dogecoin, and it's basically doing the exact same thing. It's forming like an Adam and Eve type bottom, right? And it had this resistance that keeps on going for like 2 years, right at the, I guess, the waistline of the Adam and Eve bottom formation. And once you break above of it, which we did, once you break above this, it's completely reasonable for the back test, right? Sometimes it doesn't do that. Over here, I think they're just in a hurry. Like liquidity just came in like crazy. They just have to kind of pump the stock way up or pump the coin way up. But it did kind of back test it very quickly, and it just kind of ran, right? Right now, I think the cycle Doge really is taking its time a little bit more, doing more appropriate back testing. So there's a potential that this bull market may be slower, but maybe more sustainable, is what I'm thinking. The 20-month moving average, it always does this. Like it starts to curl up and it signifies a bull market. When it starts to curl down, you already know that the bear market has been here for a very long time. But whenever it starts to curl up is really when you're looking, hey, maybe a very powerful bull market may be coming, right? So I think we're right at around this stage over here in terms of the curl, over here, maybe right around there, maybe right around there. And I wonder whether or not this month could be it, or whether or not maybe like the next month or 2 could be it. But it looks like it's calling up for something big. Sorry, just gotta take a sip of water here. But yeah, it's doing all the appropriate back tests, and the volume for this back test is lower than this breakout. Like breakout actually is happening in pretty decent volume, and the back test is happening on declining volume in April. So I like the way it looks. Can it break down further? Sure, but if you believe in liquidity cycles, you believe in cycles in general, that's kind of what it's doing. The Bollinger Band morphology is also very, very similar too. Like basically what happened is you have a little bit of a squeeze, and then you have price kind of go, consolidate up here a little bit on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, right? And when you have that happening, you might, initially have an expansion like this, right? But you might end up having a little bit of a, like a little tiny squeeze over here because price has been consolidating here for, a couple months now. Maybe before the full Bollinger Band expansion allow price to go up a lot higher. But this could potentially take time. The other way to look at this, which basically tell you the same thing, is the Ichimoku cloud. Every single time we have this Tenkan Kijun cross, the bullish TK cross, happened here, right, on the previous cycle. And for this cycle, it just recently happened just a couple of months ago, back in March, right? Whenever you have the bullish cross happen, potentially a very powerful bull trend is not that far away, maybe like months away, or maybe even like a couple of months away. I do think that it's crawling up for something big, because usually whenever a bull trend is starting, you're going to have a test run over here, and then you're going to have a pretty significant shakeout that's happening right now before the real move can happen. So I think the real move probably still hasn't happened yet. All of this is just my opinion, right? Like I don't have any insider information. I don't know for sure, but all this is just my opinion. Let me see what the Black Cat fund flow is showing you. Like, how can you not be bullish on this? There's supposedly the L3 banker fund flow trend oscillator, and I kind of back tested it from some of the stocks that have information about institutional ownership on fintel.io. For the most part, it matches. There are discrepancies. There are always discrepancies when it comes to data, but it tends to match for the most part. I mean, how can you not be like bullish here? Yeah, there's a lot of energy that's being coiled up here. In terms of support levels, it's a little bit tougher to tell. So with the Ichimoku cloud, I'm going to turn off the volume here to give us a better view. In the Ichimoku cloud, there's the Tenkan and Kijun cross, right? Tenkan and Kijun is probably right around here, around 14 cents, somewhere around here, right? And initially kind of broke below that a little bit. I think it's probably just kind of back test the Adam Eve formation over down here. But right now it's kind of above that already, right? So no big deal. This is like an inside candle of this candle over here. So it generally favors more bullish continuation. I think it's looking pretty good. I think it's doing the appropriate back test that it needs to do. And I think this cycle may actually look a lot healthier than the last cycle. So the bull trend might sustain longer than like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 months. I think it might go on for potentially longer because it's doing all the appropriate things, back testing all the appropriate things that you want to back test. So I was a buyer down here, and I also bought here a little bit to kind of finish up my position. But I think I'm probably going to let it go now, unless if it goes down further, then I might, buy more. But I'm good now. Those are my thoughts for Doge. Wow. So this is a lot of talking. So thank you so much for showing up. I don't really know what to expect here. I think I addressed that one. I think Doja Tommy's requesting Unity, which is hurting me psychologically and mentally and everything. It's just, a big. So this is one of those things that if you look at Unity, you have to accept the fact that you're catching a falling knife, because there's no confirmation at all whatsoever. This looks like a classic accumulation pattern, but it's very, very painful. If you buy this range over here, it's very, very painful. Like, you're going to be at a loss when it's at the bottom of a range, right? You can keep buying at the bottom of a range, which is probably the appropriate way to do it, but it's extremely painful in terms of this whipsaw price action. Buying volume is up, though. Selling volume is down, though. I think it's really trying to squeeze out a lot of the sellers. But again, like, this is a falling knife. Like, there's no confirmation at all. I am buying it, though, because I'm crazy. But this is a falling knife. If anything, it's one of those things that you're just kind of like, okay, this looks like a wedge kind of thing. I'm going to buy the wedge because wedges are bullish, because at some point it's going to reverse, but you don't know when it's going to reverse because the wedge can continue to go on, down a lot lower. You just don't know, right? But it's forming a pretty clear wedge. This is like an accumulation pattern, you know, and eventually you're going to find a spring, and it's going to bounce up to the top of the range, and hopefully it'll break out from it. But yeah, like I completely don't blame you if you end up selling it for a loss, like, especially if you hold it for like 2 years. The thing is, it's really squeezing out. Like it's almost one of those things that if you're in it, you stay in it because it's at the bottom of this range over here, and you can potentially sell up, you know, whenever it bounces up from this, maybe going up to the top of the wedge right here. Or if you believe that this is a big giant accumulation range, you don't mind if price keeps on going even lower. I don't think price is necessarily going to go down lower because it keeps on finding some pretty decent support, you know, horizontally with these wicks over here around the 22, 23 range. So I think there are, you know, institutions that are trying to set the floor for this, right? And if you actually look at what the institutional data for Unity, I'm going to try to pull up Unity here. First of all, like one thing that makes me feel that I should stay in the stock and keep buying. I've been buying every week, by the way. One thing that makes me feel that I should stay is because of institutional ownership is like 80%, and they set the floor price. And I think the floor price right now, based on what I'm seeing, is like 40. Sorry, it's like 22 to 23. They seem to just snatch them right up, right? The other thing is this price keep on falling down on the wedge, right? If you remember this big wedge down here that's been going on for like 2 years, this price is going down on the wedge. Institutions are accumulating. I mean, granted, it's not like parabolic accumulation, like but there's still, you know, maybe like 20 to 30% increase in institutional accumulation. So I think, if anything, there are some, you know, bullish things over here. But I keep saying, if you buy this, you're buying a falling knife. Like it's not, you know. But it's also top 10 for ARK Fund too. And actually, I think I just posted a video like earlier before I went to live stream. ARK Fund actually seems to be doing pretty well in terms of its technicals. You want to check out that video. I think that if ARK is going to do well, you're going to end up having fund flow to come in for Unity as well. So at some point, you're going to end up finding a bottom. And, you know, with institutional setting the floor, traders causing a lot of volatility, at some point this wedge will end. I don't know when that's going to be. Everybody's talking about, you know, raids. Everybody's also, you know, getting scared about unemployment, you know, recession. So all these crap out there, all I know is that it's been going sideways on a wedge for almost 2 years now, and it looks like it's accumulation volume over here, and Fintel.io is confirming that. That's all I have to say about it. None of the other indicators is going to tell you that it's bottomed. Like, for example, you look at Ichimoku Cloud, look at the Tengen, it's just been pushing. I mean, I like the fact it's trying to push above the Tengen for like 3 times, but it's been rejected. I mean, I think that maybe the 4th time's a charm. I don't know, but there's no confirmation there, right? If you look at the 20-month moving average, it's still pointing down. You know, it's potentially can still serve as resistance, but if price kind of go sideways, go up a little bit, can potentially flatten, and actually given the chance to kind of break above it and use the support to go up higher, possible. But that's Unity. That's a lot of talking just for Unity. Oh my god, I'm tired. Okay. I can talk about miners. I can talk about MicroStrategy and talk about all that. I could also do a separate video maybe later on this weekend to do that. I think it might be better because that gives me a little bit more time to look into each one and kind of come up with thoughts on each one. I'm just gonna go ahead and say that I am still bullish on the miners. I still think that miners still require 2 things to go up, and I made a video about it before. It requires Bitcoin to do well, and Bitcoin has just been going sideways for like about 3 months. And it also requires IWM to do well, and IWM just been going sideways for about 6 months. I also made a video earlier today talk about, you know, the market in general, talking about IWM, talking about Bitcoin, talking about ARK funds, talking about like oil, talking about everything. I think that we are at an inflection point that there's bull trend developing on risk assets like stocks, crypto, and there are starting to have some bearish, you know, trends developing with the US dollar, yield and oil that makes me feel more confident about what's happening, even though the noise out there is pretty scary in terms of like recessions, a lot of consumer stocks, a lot of consumer discretionary stocks are like going tanking like 15-20% after earnings. There's recession fears, there's rate fears, there's all kinds of fears, but that's not what I'm seeing in terms of the charts. So I don't know what else to kind of say about it. If Apple buys Unity, I'm not like, I mean, I don't know what Apple's gonna do. What is Apple gonna do for themselves? Like, there's no direction. I can't believe it went up 7% today. Anyway, I'm looking through. I think I see a lot of chart requests for like miners and probably like Bitcoin related stocks. I think a lot of people have been mostly following me for those kinds of things recently. So I might as well just kind of go through them. After I take a sip of water, give me like 10 seconds. Okay, much better. I don't see how these people do it for like a couple hours, man. Maybe I need to invite Danny and I can just make him talk. MicroStrategy. So monthly chart MicroStrategy. I always look at a few things. Again, as I was kind of showing you, I still think that this is a very much a bull trend. I don't think it's necessarily really exhausted. Part of the reason why I think that is if you look at the Bollinger Band, if you get like multiple candles closing about the upper Bollinger Band, like bam, 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 like 5 in a row, I'd be like really worried. But right now, MicroStrategy has actually got maybe like 2 months consecutively, closing above the upper Bollinger Band, and it's every single time it does that for like 2 months in a row, it cools down, right? This is actually pretty healthy price action. A lot of people get scared about this bearish engulfing candle, like like you're going to get scared of bearish engulfing candle on SPIR or QQQ last month, but I'm not. Monthly bearish engulfing candle like Nvidia during the last pullback, I'm not really worried about it. Basically, these are just kind of sideways cool down for a necessary bull trend. Look at how powerful the 20-month moving average is pointing up. And look at how far it went above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. Like, it's not sustainable. It had to cool down. Sure enough, it cooled down. The Bollinger Band is still expanding. If you look at the top of Bollinger Band, which I think is probably going to be the magnet, it's around 1323, which is coinciding maybe with like the top of this volume shelf over here. So I think there's a good chance price behaves. I think there's a good chance that my strategy could end up getting close back to the up Bollinger Band over here, which is not a whole lot ways to go, but still maybe close to $100 per share. After that, what's going to happen? Well, I don't know. There's a volume shelf over here. It might need to work itself out a few things. Maybe you have like 2, 3, 4 inside candles over here, kind of cool down this big giant move up over here before going up. There's certainly that possibility, right? But if you are looking at the other indicators, such as the Ichimoku cloud, I think it's done its job already in terms of its correction. What did it do when it comes to the Ichimoku cloud? On the month of April, it closed just slightly below the Kijun, the red line over here. And in May, it just bounced right back above the Kijun and Tenkan again. In a bull market, it flips the Tenkan and Kijun from resistance to support, right? It was resistance over here with the blue line. It flipped into support, and the Tenkan, the blue line over here, has really been just serving as support to push price a lot higher. And I like the fact that we went way too far, way too fast, and back tested and found support. I like the bounce. I like the fact that it went up on high volume and it went back down on relatively lower volume, right? Looks like it's just consolidating sideways over here. Right now, we're finding support back above both the monthly Tenkan and Kijun. It's going to be tough to tell like exactly what it's going to do next. All I know is it's cool down already enough, and I'm not surprised if it ends up pushing higher from here. But you do have a few kind of levels of volume shell resistance over here to get over, so it may not be immediate, right? But I'm not seeing any signs of exhaustion over here. I'll show you the RSI here in a little bit. Just going through the Fibonacci levels over here, kind of show you what I'm kind of expecting to see. It's no surprise that we got rejected around 2000 because that's around the level of the 1.618 level. And it went back down. It back tested the Tenkan and Kijun. And Kijun was also close to 0.786 over here too, right? So you have a lot of confluence level over here that ends up finding support at, and it looks like it's bouncing from it. The next target up, again, the upper Bollinger Band I was showing you is around 1323. The previous all-time high, and I'm not drawing this exact, obviously, but the previous all-time high is around 1310, 1315, somewhere around there. It's probably going to be the magnet go up there, together with the upper Bollinger Band. What's going to happen after that? Maybe a little bit more chopping sideways before going up. I don't know, but do I think that this whole thing is exhausted? Probably not. If it's able to break the bell, you're really talking about some of these higher targets over here, 3,000, 4,000, 5,000. I don't think it's out of question. But it can take a while to get there, months and months and months to get there. I'm not expecting to just go up, yeah, it's not. It's not just going to go up there in a straight line, but I think that it will go up there based on what I'm seeing, unless if things change. I'm not seeing any bearish divergence over here on the monthly to worry about trend exhaustion or anything like that. Matter of fact, RSI have reset all the way from 81 to 60s. I think it's probably cooled down enough. It's just basically back testing the previous high here a little bit, this wick over here a little bit. Cooling down before bullish continuation. I'm not too scared about it. The major resistance is really over here, and I think it's kind of broke about that with a vengeance. It's crazy. I don't think it's going to back test down to 800s or 700s or anything. It could. If it does that, you might start. I might start to worry about a little bit of trend exhaustion actually. If it does 700 or 800 or something like that, I'll be starting to worry about a little bit of trend exhaustion, but I'm not really seeing that. So what else are we looking at here? In terms of the weekly, and I would probably just look at the weekly real quick and just let it go. Bull market support bands serve as support. And so far, you have a very bottomy type candle, like a hammer type candle here, which is generally a very bottomy type thing. I think it's corrected enough. It went down from all the way from 2000 all the way down to 1,000. I think it's corrected enough. We'll see if the market agrees, and it might end up chopping. It may even fall down below that a little bit before going up higher. I don't think it's going to have to back test some of these volume shelves down here. And if it does, I'll start worrying about trend exhaustion. But right now, it's just a very, very strong bull trend. That's my strategy. I talked about Coinbase already yesterday. I'm going to pass that. I have people who ask about CleanSpark, and I always love to talk about CleanSpark. I'm going to delete all these labels over here, keep it clean, keep it clean. Always like to start with a monthly to start with. And the overall message of the monthly is that it looks like a very nice bull flag at a volume shelf. And overall is forming this cup and handle, and it's forming another cup and handle. It might form yet another cup and handle right there before going up higher. But I can't really complain about the price going from 25 to 13 or 14 after price 6 months ago was at $3. So I still think this is a very, very nice bull trend. And I think it's going to do pretty decent still. And again, I'm not really seeing any concerns in terms of trend exhaustion in the monthly. Now, on the weekly, you did have a trend exhaustion over here as the bearish divergence over here, but I think that's already been worked out. You already had the drop. So I'm not, really worried about that much anymore. If anything, I think things are starting to build up some bullish divergence with RSI cool down. So I'm not really that worried. Like, these are hidden bullish divergences. You want to cool the RSI down from like 80 all the way down to like the 50s. And during this cool down, price went from like 12. Right now, price is like 16. This is actually pretty, bullish development, if you ask me. Simply back testing some of these horizontal levels down here, right now getting stuck in a volume shelf. You'd worry about a diamond top, wouldn't you? But diamond tops only work if you really worry about a trend change. Is there any sign for a trend change on the weekly when price just bounced off from a very positive pointing bull market support band? Not really. I mean, I think it's just been consolidating because they need to work out some of these technicals over here, but it's building some bullish divergence or hidden bullish divergence for price to continue to probably go up higher. When is that going to be? I don't know. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 weeks of sideways. Is that good enough for you? Maybe. I mean, can you imagine buying all the way down here? I mean, that's a pretty painful thing to go through. I wouldn't necessarily complain about like what's going on over here, especially when the technicals are actually quite supportive. Let's see what the 2-week chart is showing me. Is it showing me anything interesting? I think so. The 2-week chart is usually going to represent 2-week price action. It broke through the cloud and it's basically kind of backtesting some of the stuff. It didn't really quite backtest the top of the cloud here, but it's backtesting some of like the Tenkan Kishin here. And this whole sideways over here is on relatively decreasing volume. So over here, it actually still looks like reaccumulation to me. I wonder about if there's any update on institutional accumulation, institutional data. I mean, right now you have a pretty nice institutional ownership of like 43%, and it's just been kind of going up. Like I still feel safe in this stock because again, the institution sets the floor and traders cause volatility. So I'm not really that, worried about it. And it's doing all the right things. Like broke through the cloud and just kind of back testing some of the stuff and consolidating sideways at the volume shelf before going up higher. How long does it consolidate? I don't really care. I already have enough shares. If it goes down further, then I might buy more. Like if it goes down to like 12, 13 or something like that, I might buy more. Could it end up doing that? Well, I mean, there's a possibility. Why would I say that? Because let me see here. Yeah, I mean, I don't think this gap down here is necessarily going to get filled. Like that just doesn't make a whole lot of sense. If anything, if I look at if I look at a 2-day chart with Ichimoku cloud, I mean, there's still some potential downfall that can happen. I don't think it's going to. I think it's consolidating enough. The daily Ichimoku cloud actually looks pretty interesting. Like resistance here, broke through on high volume, back testing and support, broke through on high volume, kind of going sideways, touch the cloud here again on the daily, right? And right now it's just basically kind of back testing the cloud here on relative low volume over here. All it takes is just a little bit of volume to kind of punch it above the cloud and go higher. When that is, I don't know. What's important though is if you look at a monthly, what is important though is that is spend months number 1, 2, and 3 trying to attack the Ichimoku cloud above. This is always going to be a concern for potential resistance over here, right? It closed inside the cloud back in March, dropped back down here, back test the Tenkan over here, found support, right? So far we have like an indecisive doji candle over here after like 3 days of May. We don't know what's going to happen. Could it go back down, back test, and go up higher? Maybe. Depends on what Bitcoin does, depends on what IWM does, right? Next thing you know, if IWM Bitcoin just goes up like crazy, I mean, I think it's going to push through the cloud and it's going to get above all these volume shelves over here. The reason why it got rejected over here is because you have a lot of price history over here and a lot of supply over here. So yeah, I mean, if they were pushed above like 24, 25 range, man, I mean, it can go a lot higher. Like the top of the cloud over here is like in the 70s. But we still need to work out some of the technicals. We're still stuck in a couple of resistance levels over here, both in terms of volume shelf and both in terms of the Ichimoku cloud. So it's understandable. It's going to take a little bit longer to kind of work through things before pushing up higher. If you look at the day-to-day, you see Bitcoin goes up like 5% and CleanSpark's doing nothing, or CleanSpark's like down. I mean, like look at what it's done. I can't blame it. That's kind of my thoughts on CleanSpark. We'll look at the Fibonacci level here. I don't want to go price before like December 2020 because CleanSpark didn't really become like a true miner until like December 2020. So I'm going to use the Fibonacci level over here to kind of tell you what I'm kind of seeing overall. Right? It's just basically bouncing from one Fibonacci level to another. Right? Right now, I think it's trying to get back above the 0.382. I think once you're able to kind of break through about all this, like about like 24-ish kind of thing over here, you can go to 27 or 34 in a hurry. I mean, I don't know when that is, but I like the fact that it's forming a bull flag because you can just keep going up higher. That's unsustainable. You don't really want that. If you want it to go up higher and not be exhausted, you don't really want to just keep going up higher after two big giant green candles closing way outside up a Bollinger Band over here on the monthly. You want to go sideways for a month or two. I'm not complaining about this. Anyway, that is CleanSpark. You know what I'm going to talk about next? Mara. Monthly chart for Mara. Right off the bat, you have a lot of these kind of consolidation over here, but if you look at the macro waves, if you will, is still forming very much of an upward channel over here. Overall is still higher highs and higher lows overall, right? You can debate whether or not there's some lower lows and things like that is happening over here, but overall it just looks like a channel kind of going up, right? The key here is that it's been consolidating for quite some time, and it also is trying to huck this ticket and around here for quite some time. And I've said this over and over again. Like if you watch my video again, I'm just going to say it again. I think this area over here looks like this area over here. We have a bullish cross. Price could be underneath both the Tenkan and Kijun. I don't care. But eventually, whenever it's done kind of back testing things, it needs to back test. Whenever the sudden volume is starting to really get exhausted, whenever the true buying volume comes in, it can go and touch the cloud. It can push through the cloud too. I mean, I don't think it's going to push through right away. I do think that there's a lot of volume shelf resistance right around here that needs to push through around the low 30s, and once you get up to the cloud, maybe 40, you might have a little bit of stalling over here because you have. Overall, I think the channeling is going up, and I think that whenever this consolidation is done, it's probably going to do pretty well. All right, water time. Sorry. So that's kind of what I'm seeing. I'm going to look at the 2-week here. 2-week here is basically showing you this too. And it's also very interesting in terms of what I'm seeing. Basically, it kind of breaks inside the cloud over here on the 2-week chart. Kind of like how it broke inside a cloud over here, right? On pretty decent volume. And it's just kind of going around the cloud, trying to figure out this thing. But the next true move, usually once you break into the Ichimoku cloud, and this is true for a lot of altcoins a few months ago, once you break inside the Ichimoku cloud, it tends to want to test out the other side. In the Ichimoku cloud on the 2-week is just like the monthly is around like 42, 43. It's potential for some initial rejection that you see with the price history over here. But I think that it might end up, going up higher from this. I'm still bullish on it because I'm still seeing a longer-term bull trend. How do I know it's a longer-term bull trend? Well, you pull up the moving averages. You can double check on it, see whether or not it's a bull trend. So going back to the weekly, all it's doing right now is that 50 is rising. and it's just back testing 50 multiple times. I like the fact that you have these kind of wicks underneath. Usually these are a little bit more tweezer kind of looking thing. It's generally more favorable to price to kind of go up higher, right? Could price end up closing the gap down here at, where's the gap at, like 13.7? Possible. Doesn't look like it wants to. 50 moving average is pointing up and starting to support 20 over 50 over 100. This is a bull trend. It's just started not long ago. So yeah, it's still favorable. If you look at it weekly, you can see closely, in terms of what the volume is doing. Buy volume up, sell volume down, right? And it looks like there's a lot of kind of like these seller exhaustion over here. It's looking pretty decent. You have a very nice kind of hammer bottom over here 2 weeks ago. And it looks like it's kind of playing out, but it might take some time because you're still stuck at this, big giant volume shelf here. Probably just been bouncing between these two volume shelves over here for quite some time. So eventually people are going to buy the bottom range and it's going to go up higher. That's kind of how these things work. In terms of how much higher, that's a good question. I generally like to use Fibonacci level as a guide in terms of price target. Again, nothing's ever guaranteed, right? There are people who says that you cannot take a look at the left-hand side and predict what price is on the right. But that's actually kind of what technical analysis is. You're trying to use the available information to try to figure out what price is going to go moving forward. That's literally what it is. And if you actually look at the Fibonacci level for Mara, it actually fits the Fibonacci level rejection and support very, very well. It's just been bouncing up and down between like the 0.382 and the 0.136 almost perfectly. It's been range bound for months. What happened when you're at the bottom of the range is probably going to go up to the top of the range. What happens when you're at the top of the range and you have seller exhaustion is going to go up higher. If you're able to break through all these resistance, now again, I was talking about the top of each move cloud, it's like 42, right? 42, 43. That's the 0.5 Fibonacci level over there. That's going to be the next level. After that's the golden ratio, 53.3. If it breaks all-time high, which is this wick up here around 84, there's, depending on what Bitcoin does, depending on what IWM does, depending on what liquidity does, depending on how irrational the bull market end up being, you could potentially hit some of the up targets over here, like 134, 215. It's not impossible. I wouldn't count on it. But did you also thought that 34 was possible when the price was at $3? Did you think that $85 was possible when its price was down at like 35 cents? It can get pretty irrational. Marathon has a small market cap, like a few $1 billion. It doesn't take a whole lot of money to pump it up. And if you're wondering what the whales are doing, I mean, granted, institutions, 42% institutional ownership, which is not bad. And if you look at the accumulation chart, it's just been going up and up, right? I mean, a lot of this could potentially be just absorbing the dilution, and the dilution can still kind of weighing in price in a little bit. But I do think that this is actually probably more technical than anything. It's just been zigzagging between these two levels, building on a lot of energy, shaking out weekends. All y'all who started following me when price went from like $8 all the way up to like 30, all of you started following me, needed to be tested. I cannot tell you whether or not to stay in or not. All I can tell you is I see a bull trend and I'm in. That's all I can say. But I really don't care about what happened over the last few months. Matter of fact, I thought like Q1 was going to be like a buying opportunity. I made a whole post about miners being that. I didn't know that it was going to extend out to all the way to April. But I did expect like seasonality weakness over here at this range over here from like January to March end up being extended to April, which is okay. Seasonality for April is generally weak too, unfortunately. But this over here looks just like this over here. in terms of a lot of different things that I'm seeing. I've shown you this before, right? The whale fund flow, right? The whale fund flow, price sideways, whales coming in, price sideways, whales coming in, right? Bollinger Band, flattening, going up, flattening, going up, right? Is crawling under the upper Bollinger Band over here, is crawling under upper Bollinger over here, building a lot of energy before going up, right? And I already showed you the Ichimoku cloud, bullish cross, building up a lot of energy, potentially push up a lot higher. Nothing has changed. I don't care what it does like Monday. I think Bitfarm is in a very similar kind of pattern. It actually looks very, very similar to Mara. Sometimes it's stronger, sometimes it's weaker. When it pushes higher than Mara. When it corrects harder than Mara. Sometimes it's smaller market cap, so what do you expect, right? And if you look at the Fibonacci levels, roughly what it's trying to do, I can tell you this, roughly what it's trying to do is basically the same thing that Mara is doing. Bounced on the 0.382. Got rejected here. Big volume shelf over here, right? A lot of history around here, around like $4. Got rejected over here. Came back down. Trying to bounce off support over here. There's a little bit of like a inverted cup and hand. Sorry, not cup and hand. Inverse hand and shoulder pattern over here. Breakout, reaches target, back testing the neckline, right? So bounce from the Fibonacci level, getting back to the neckline, consolidating around here for a little while, but it's basically this range bounce between these two Fibonacci levels. Like this is not anything that should like surprise you or scare you. Buy volume up, sell volume down, not a bad look. And if you look at the Ichimoku cloud, you have the bullish cross over here, just like what Mara is doing. Like there's no difference really, except price is a little bit lower underneath the Tenkan and Kijun. And again, like the top of the cloud is around like probably like $4 or $5 up here. If it ends up breaking out about this range, this is still a range though, right? The two big giant volume shelves over here, bouncy balls around here for quite some time. It was able to break above this range convincingly with some volume coming in. It can hit like $4 or $5. Like I think it can hit like $5 in a hurry potentially. Probably gonna end up getting resistance there though, because you have history here. But that's kind of what I'm looking at currently. Looking at the Bollinger Band, favorable, right? Looks like a nice little flag over here. 20-minute moving average is crawling up. It's not a bad look. Like it really isn't a bad look. It's just like Mara, but it just looks a little bit more impulsive on the way up, a little bit more impulsive on the way down, and it's finding support where you think you would find support at. I still find this to be a favorable chart. Now, it's weaker on the way down, and I'll show you what I meant by that. Like if you look at the weekly chart, if you pull up the weekly moving averages, like it's finding support in the 50, but it's not as like nice as Mara. But it's finding support at the rising 50 weekly moving average. It's not a bad look, It's still a bull trend. I mean, granted, 20 is kind of crawling up. What do you expect? I mean, probably just kind of go like down straight for like 12 weeks. The 20 is going to point down, but the 20 is still way separated from the 50. 20 about 50, about 100 bull trend started not long ago. Objectively, this is a bull trend, right? If I want to look at what the 2-week Ichimoku cloud here. I haven't looked at it yet. Okay, so not much to look at here. What about this? It's just inside the cloud, just consolidating. Again, the top of the 2-week Ichimoku cloud around $5, right? Everything is kind of lining up together. If it gets sucked over, upwards, it's going to go to like $5 most likely. If you look at the Super Ichi cloud on a 2-week, it might give you a little bit more clear picture over here, isn't it? Got rejected from the top of the Super Ichi cloud. Come back down. Is it going to go all the way down to like 150? I'm not sure. It doesn't seem like it wants to hit the bottom of the cloud. It's forming a little bit of trees over here. It looks like it's wanting to like, hey, I don't want to go down anymore. Looks like it's finding some support over here at this volume shelf, right? So I don't necessarily think it's going to go down all the way down here, but although it does go down, pretty strong support over here. Always think about the downside, right? Bottom of the cloud, possible. Does it bother me? No. Volume's down. I don't care. It could go down though. If it does, next thing you know, top of the Subishi cloud again, right? If it breaks through, top of volume, bottom of the volume shell right here, around $5. I think that the downside right now is more limited, and the upside tend to be higher if you are wondering about the risk-reward ratio kind of thing. Man, thank you so much for staying in for like over an hour. I don't really know what to expect. My Mrs. Cat's not here, so I can literally stay here all night if you want, but I can keep going. I can talk about the next miner, which I think one that I'm in would be a good one. I can talk about Riot next. CIFR. And I've talked about this a lot because I like the bullish setup. Basically, it's just been channeling up and it's been hitting this hard resistance. It's been knocking the door over and over again. I think, the $5 range over here is going to break. And when it breaks, the floodgate is going to open. It's probably going to go up to like, something crazy like $10 in a hurry. You did have some price history over here. So there's a, volume shove over here, I guess from when it like IPO'd. Or if it's a spec, I actually don't remember. But anyway, like I think once it breaks above this volume shelf around here, around like the high fives, it can go up in a hurry. And it looks like it's building up a lot of energy to do so. The other indicators are supporting that bullish trend over here, supported by a bullish cross of the Tenkan over Kijun, right? Price went below the Tenkan for the month of April, but went back above it, right? I really would like to see some solid grounding over here, like really use the Tenkan to kind of push price higher above this big giant range over here and go higher. I would definitely do WULF and IREN, absolutely. After Riot as well, I'm probably going to pass on HUT because nobody tends to care. I know this volume shove looks sick because it's been doing nothing but going sideways here for like a whole year, right? So, but overall, like it does actually look like it's channeling up. And the reason why I know it's channeling up is if you have a bullish crossover here, which is cool. But if you also look at the Bollinger Band, it's really just forming a very, very nice cup over here with the 20-month moving average serving as support. And the price has been on the upper part of the Bollinger Band, just kind of crawling up for like a whole year, trying to break above this range. Like this is an awesome setup from the technical standpoint. I don't know what else to say here. Like this is a pretty awesome setup. I just I'm still buying. I mean, I already have a position that I'm happy with. I do see myself buying more if it continues to drop down. I'm happy with my position now though. My average is probably around like maybe a little bit like less than $4. And I just kind of started entering, really around April or so. So I'm kind of happy to be in it. It looks awesome. We'll see what happens. I like to look at a 2-week here. I haven't really looked at a 2-week. If I put the Ishimoku cloud or 2-week, it's not doing a whole lot. It's still inside of clouds, just kind of going sideways. Again, maybe you have some resistance up here at around like $8. There's potential. You did have some price history over here, right? So maybe the top of the cloud is going to be around like $8. There could be resistance before 10. Possible. Something to think about. The other thing is like if you just put the 2-week, like you can see this is like a big giant cup and this is like a smaller cup, almost like a handle kind of thing, right? It just looks awesome. I don't know. I'm just gonna keep saying like these stupid words like awesome and whatever. It's not gonna help you. Boomerang support band pushing price up higher. You're gonna have a rising boomerang support band right into this big giant resistance that has been trying to break for a very long time. The arm is chipping. Eventually, it's probably gonna break through. When is that gonna be? Is it gonna be like this month, next month, the month after that, month after that? I don't care. Because whenever it breaks, it's going to be pretty powerful. That's CIFR. Riot Riot sideways for a whole freaking year. Longer than that, actually. This is absolutely incredible. I do think that the correlate that I have over here, I think the cycle might just be a lot slower compared to the last cycle. I think the correlate over here from the last cycle may be like here. And we're calling up like crazy. Last cycle went sideways for what, like 5-6 months. This cycle went sideways for like a whole year. Man, I don't have a position. I got hurt by Riot last cycle. The reason why is because I was expecting a wave 5. This is a wave 1. This is a wave 3. The wave 5 got truncated. The liquidity didn't come back. So I ended up losing money from it. I'm not gonna lie. But maybe that's have saved me from this side raise, terrible hell for like a whole year. But with that said, I'm going to post some of the technicals here. Ichimoku Cloud, bullish cross, right? And followed by a bearish cross. You actually end up having a bearish cross. So I don't really care about that. I think it's just been going sideways. It doesn't really matter, whether or not this bullish cross or bearish cross, just been going sideways. And I think you're just basically oscillating between the tank and at this point, right? Most likely it's going to probably end up challenging it. You might still find a little bit of resistance here, but you play around here for long enough. If the real bull market comes, it's going to push up to like the high 20s to like $40 in a hurry whenever this range breaks. But it's just been kind of consolidating for quite some time. I'm not too worried about Riot because a couple of reasons. One reason is we look at the banker fund has been having a lot of inflow. Over here, price went sideways for like 5-6 months, right? It had a lot of increase in inflow here. Price went sideways for a whole year, increase in inflow for a whole year, right? So I'm not really too worried about that. And you also want to look for like correlate in terms of Fintel.io. Is not as high as CleanSpark or Mara. It's about 26.3%. But overall, you do have like accumulation over here during the bear market. Like they are buying Riot. So this sideways action is confirmed with increased wealth fund inflow. Is also confirmed with increased institutional accumulation. I think eventually you're going to end up breaking up about this range and probably go higher. The issue is it's just been balancing over here for so long that for April actually ended up closing average. I didn't think this is going to be very strong resistance because it's rising. And sure enough, like so far the month of May seemed to be doing okay. Right now, the price is at 10.42 and the 20-month moving average is at 10.40. So technically you're close to a week above the rising 20-month moving average. It seemed like they have some initial rejection over here, but overall this is crawling up. So that's why I think that this over here has pretty strong correlate as this over here. It's just that it's just doing some pretty crazy evil like back test stuff over here, whereas over here it seems like the trend was a little bit more clear. But I do think that the 20-month moving average started trend change over here since November of 2023. Very similar to maybe around here, right? So I do think that this is kind of setting up for some pretty big move potentially up whenever it happens. I do not know when it's going to happen. You would have thought that it was going to happen in March when things like just kind of went sideways for that long, and next thing you know you have another quarter where it just doesn't do anything. But that's Riot for you, right? If I take away the monthly indicator, let's look at the 2-week Ichimoku Cloud. I'm interested in looking at this. If you look at the 2-week Ichimoku Cloud, not the bull market support band, it's been oscillating around there, by the way. It's just not really doing a whole lot there. But if I look at the Ichimoku Cloud, you can see what it's trying to do on the 2-week. It's very, very clear, actually. Ichimoku stands for like one look in Japanese. And the whole idea is you can have an indicator where you can just look at it and then immediately you know what's happening. What is happening, Riot? Got rejected by the 2-week cloud over here, right? Trying to break back inside the cloud, broke inside the cloud on high volume. And yay, got rejected here on the horizontal range. On the top of the range, traders came in, price went back down, back test the cloud, went up again, got a tweezer pop over here, got rejected by traders, like 8 weeks straight down, test the bottom of the cloud again, held, by the way, and now it's going back up. We're at the bottom of the range, so it's probably going to do okay in terms of, I think it's probably minimally going to end up, being on the top of the range here. If you look at a weekly Ichimoku cloud, it's not as pretty. You did have a very, very nice hammer bottom over here, candle bottom over here. But, right now it's underneath the weekly cloud. So, it's just been oscillating sideways over here. It doesn't really matter if it's under, over. If it's over, it doesn't mean that's bullish. If it's under, it doesn't really mean that it's like bearish anymore. It's just been going sideways. I don't really care. But the 2 week is really telling you a tale in terms of what it's trying to do. And I think it might be getting to a point, and it might be another 4 weeks before, hey, price finally wakes up and saying, if I keep going sideways, I'm going to fall out of the cloud. I better go up. It might happen that way, right? But yeah, the 2 week chart is interesting. What happened the last cycle is it didn't really have this brutal kind of thing. What happened this last cycle is got rejected over here. Oops, broke down, found support here on D kitchen, pushed back up again, consolidated for about a month or so, pushed way up. We don't really have that here. But overall, the price action, as sad as it is, the price action is still relatively constructive. I'm just going to leave it as that. Why am I typing? I can just click over here. One of the stocks that I own, IREN. What's IREN doing? Volume shelf. Stuck at a volume shelf. Not doing a whole lot. Looks a little bit like a symmetrical triangle over here. Could either break up or down. When it comes to that, is it going to break up or is it going to break down? Certainly seems like the buying volume is saying that, hey, people are buying more than they're selling. But certainly look at some of the other indicators over here. Look at the 20, look at the 20-month moving average on the monthly. Actually looks pretty decent. Looks just like some of the other ones, like like Mara, where you have a little bit of like a rising 20-month moving average, and price just been consolidating above it for quite some time. I know it's been following the 2 week cloud very nicely. It's just kind of consolidating right here above the 20-month moving average. It's kind of pointing up, right? And you're really seeing a development of something that might be more bullish here for a longer term. But is there confirmation? No. I mean, I like to see it getting closer to the upper Bollinger Band again and be more impulsive about it. There's still a big giant volume shelf that is still trying to get above, right? But it's done it before. All it takes is just maybe a little bit more, volume to kind of come in for it to do it again, right? The Ichimoku cloud is not quite as bullish. It's still under the Tenkan. It's trying to break above the Tenkan for quite some time now. It's been unable to sustain any move to break out and try to backtest to go up higher. Is still underneath the Tenkan. I would like to see it try to break above to hit Tenkan again around like 6.3, somewhere around there. 6.24 to be exact. But that's okay, because I still think that the Tenkan was lower probably because there a lot of these kind of downward candles over here. But anyway, the what's I going to show? The weekly chart. If you look at the moving averages, even though it's been going sideways, you still have a bull trend. If it keeps going sideways, I guess they could, kind of collapse again and try to figure out the trend again. But so far, 20 is about 50 over 100. Still looking pretty decent. If I look at the 2 week Ichimoku cloud, it might give you a little bit of a better picture here. IREN is still a relatively newer stock, so you don't quite have like a full cloud. Usually for a full cloud to form, it's like 52 periods, and then you have the full cloud being formed over here. So yeah, no worries. Thanks for dropping by. happy to keep talking. I'm gonna have everything recorded, and I'm gonna show it so you can. I'm also gonna try to do some videos from this too, and just like do snippets from it. But you look at a 2-week cloud over here, you can see that it broke inside the cloud. Like this is the beginning of the Ichimoku cloud, and it's just basically been back testing the bottom of the cloud after it broke inside. It broke inside the cloud on relatively high volume, and it's just back testing the bottom of the cloud. It could potentially go sideways a little bit and then touch the other side of the cloud whenever a bull market starts. This over here still looks like like an upward channel for the most part. I'm still bullish on it. I'm just going to keep holding on. I have no plans of buying anymore. And I do want to go through one more stock, which is WULF. And I'm going to look back and see if you guys have any other quick chart requests, and I'm probably going to call it a night. This is the monthly chart of WULF. It got a nice new ascending triangle look to it. I mean, these things are not exactly always break down a triangle. That's always possible. But I like the fact I have these labels that are left on here. I like the fact that it's back testing the Tenkan support, right? It was resistance, 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 flipped, support, support. That's a bullish development. Does it drop back down? Possible, right? But I like where it's going. I like the fact that it's attacked Tenkan for like half a year and finally flipped it from resistance to support. I like the fact that it looks like an ascending triangle. And I also like, let me get rid of some of this stuff over here. I also like the fact that it also has a very, very similar look to like Mara and IREN and Bitfarms, things like that, crawling up 20-month moving average. This could be the beginning of a bull market that's being built up. Man, it's noisy. Let me get rid of the Ichimoku cloud over here. Yeah, crawling 20-month moving average going up. I like the way it looks so far. It's looking pretty decent. I just like to see some bullish continuation, though. I hope it breaks the top of the same triangle and just go a lot higher. But that looks like it's what it's trying to do. If you just look at the, I want to look at the bi-weekly Ichimoku cloud. This has been pretty cool so far. You can see that it broke inside Ichimoku cloud here on the bi-weekly. And I mean, once you break inside the cloud, generally there's a chance for a trend reversal, right? So we'll see what happens. I think there's some pretty bullish development that's happening over here. Going back to the weekly, in general, if you look at the weekly moving average, you just started developing a bull trend over here. 20 above 50 above 100. Price is getting supported by the boring support band that's starting to point up now, right? It's been pointing way down for a long time. It pointed up and it just kind of oscillated around here. Right now it's pointing up and it looks like it's potentially serving as support, potentially push price higher over time. I like the fact that it's pointing up. I like the fact that it's above the 20. All of these are, pretty bullish development. Is it going to end up, going up a lot higher for sure? Nobody knows. You can always break down. Who knows what the whales are doing? Who knows what the market makers are doing? But I just like the volume profile over here. Buying going up in volume, selling going down on volume, buying going up in volume, selling going down in volume. Like this is a pretty classic kind of, accumulation type pattern. If you just look at a monthly, talking about accumulation pattern, this stock's been around for long enough, even though it wasn't really a miner until recently. You have enough back history for you to pull up the Black Hat Fund, right? You have a buy signal over here back in March, and you have whale inflow coming in, even though price just kind of been going sideways over here. So you have a little bit of divergence over here to kind of think about. Yeah, I'm happy to do a couple more chart reviews here, and I'm sorry if I miss anything. But one that I'm going to do, I'm looking through the chat here. Coinbase, I did it, just last night. So I'm not going to do that today because honestly, nothing has really changed. The quick thing about coin, I'm just going to show, like it doesn't really, to me, it didn't really matter what earning was going to do anyway, because it's still stuck at this big giant volume shelf over here. Earning was amazing. Like, it was amazing, but so is the stock price. Like, it went all the way from the 30s going up to like the 200, like almost close to 300. So earnings absolutely got smashed, but I don't think there was really any surprise. Like, this is a very cyclical stock, and it's stuck at this volume shelf and is having a hard time breaking above. You know, when I was seeing that price went up over here, I already, you know, kind of made videos as well as posts to say that, yeah, I think you're going to end up getting rejection at the top of this volume shelf over here. Is probably going to end up spending anywhere from like 1 to 3 months sideways before bullish continuation. And that's being generous, because like price span over here for like more than half a year before going up. I think it's still going to keep going up. Yeah, I mean, I still think it's going to do pretty well. And if you're interested in looking at the, you know, Fibonacci targets, I made some pretty crazy targets when price is like down in 40s and 50s. Up here, you know, and I can draw that again kind of roughly here. If you do like from an all-time high here at the IPO from the bottom over here, you can see it's been kind of respecting these Fibonacci levels pretty nicely. Once it is able to really truly break above the previous all-time high, I think some of the targets over here is like, you know, 680, certainly possible. Depending on how parabolic the bull trend becomes, it can hit some of the higher 4-digit levels up here too as well. I wouldn't necessarily bank on it. You know, I think it's definitely a lot more possible to kind of hit over here, maybe here, and in like 1081. But it's always hard, right? Like you don't want to get caught with your pants off unless you're an exhibitionist. But you want to just kind of make sure there's not any like trend exhaustion. Is there any trend exhaustion right now? I don't think so. Like, you know, looking at the RSI, it's like the RSI is like just not really that high, to be completely honest. The highs it got was like in the 60s. I think it's got ways to go before the monthly RSI is really overbought. But it has to work out its technicals over here with these kind of price history over here for more than half a year, with this volume shelf over here for a long time before going up further. While I'm at it, I'm just going to show the Fibonacci. Sorry, I'm going to show the Ichimoku cloud here. I think price just went way far above the Tenkan line over here, and it's just needed to cool down and get a little bit closer to Tenkan line. Do I think it has to touch a Tenkan line 180? I don't think so. I think this is good enough. It probably going to range bound here between, like, you know, the high 270 to 80s and maybe down like 200. It's probably going to, you know, keep bouncing around here, this volume shelf, for maybe another month or so, maybe another month or two before going up higher. Would I be surprised if the month of May is parabolic May? I wouldn't be surprised. I think it's cooled down enough. Could it end up range bound here for longer than we all expected? Certainly possible. I mean, it did that last time back in 2021. So that's Coinbase. Nvidia. It's a pretty simple chart, actually. I don't think there's really any mystery. So first of all, there's no exhaustion because there's no bearish divergence that I can see here on the monthly, right? It is overbought, but things can stay overbought for a very, very long time. You're talking about things can stay overbought for like years, right? During these like semiconductor cycles. If anything, I think this cycle kind of looks like over here with, you know, RSI starting to get overheated right around like December 2015. And it just kept on going up here for like years. And price kept on just keep going up on bearish divergence. And eventually, when the bearish divergence works out, the price is already a lot higher. So it's I think it's a pretty simple chart, to be completely honest with you. I'll tell you why. It is getting a little bit far away from the Tenkan. Whenever things get a little bit too far away from the Tenkan, bulls tend to get punished for it, either by time or by price, right? Here is like maybe a little bit of combination of time and price. But I think that's exactly what the month of April is supposed to be for. It's supposed to at least get closer to the Tenkan. You can't just keep on going up parabolically forever, right? You need to take a break at some point if you want a more sustainable bull market to keep going. So I think NVIDIA is actually going to do pretty decent, but it does need some time to kind of cool off, which is exactly what April does. Could it keep going on further, for another month or two before going up and wait for Tengen to kind of catch up? Could it go down a little bit further and kind of get a little bit closer to it? All these things are possible, but it doesn't change the fact that I think NVIDIA is going higher. That's the bottom line. If I take out some of the stuff over here, I don't like my chart to be a little bit too noisy. I'm just going to draw a Fibonacci level, and it's going to be very, very clear in terms of what NVIDIA is doing. Like, this is not a mystery at all when it comes to technical analysis. I'm going to draw it from the previous high over here, and I'm going to draw it all the way down to the cycle bottom, roughly, right? Got rejected over here at the 1.618 Fibonacci level, went sideways for months, eventually broke above, pushed through the 2.618 like Swiss cheese, and got to 3.618 in a hurry, got rejected there. Sure, it's going to get rejected there. You expect it to just keep going higher and without like taking a break. You do end up having, months number 1 and 2 like closing way above the upper Bollinger Band here on the monthly. Of course, you're going to warrant a cool down. You don't want to just keep going. Like, the more these parabolic candles over here, the longer you're going to have cool down, right? So right now you only have 2 candles closing above the upper Bollinger Band. You have like a couple of months going sideways. So what, 20-month moving average is still pointing up a lot higher. Do I sound more condescending on live stream? I'm sorry. I guess I protect my emotions better when I'm doing planned videos. But let me take a sip of water here real quick. Yeah, so it's basically just sandwiching between these Fibonacci levels over here, going sideways, cooling down some of the indicators, allowing things to kind of catch up a little bit. I was talking about the Tengen. So it might end up going sideways for another month or two, or it decides not to. It decides that the upper Bollinger Band is a magnet, which it could be. Right now it's at 936. And it could end up pushing price a lot higher, and it could knock on the 3.618 again, and it could determine whether or not the technicals has already cooled down enough for it to keep going up. I actually don't mind if price just kind of went sideways for another month. But that's just me. And if it does, it's going to drive everybody crazy. Is this the top? Is this one of those, like MicroStrategy top that's going to catch you all off guard? Is this like one of these tops over here? I don't think so. Look at how parabolic this has been. Like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Like, this is not sustainable. Whenever you have something like this, like all the bullish energy has essentially got exhausted, and you're going to have a harder time really trying to make another push up, right? That's not NVIDIA. NVIDIA is doing something very different. It's cooling down when it needs to. It doesn't really want to close above the upper Bollinger Band for too long. If it does, it just goes sideways and cool things down. Again, I just show you the monthly RSI. I don't think, it's really that exhausted or anything like that, right? So yeah, I think it's doing all the necessary things. If you look at the Super Ichi cloud, that's even going to give you a much better picture here too. I think it's done its job in terms of back testing, the Tenkan and Kijun. In a bull market, honestly, all it needs to do is just back test the Super Ichi cloud, Tenkan and Kijun, and they can go up higher. That's what it's been doing for years. Like, most of the time, the Tenkan, the blue line, is good enough. Sometimes they have to go down a little bit further and back test the Kijun underneath. And that's okay. It doesn't necessarily mean that this is the bear market. Far from it, actually. I'm kind of done talking about NVIDIA. I'm bullish on it. I'm being exposed to it, so I'm happy with that. I get asked this before too. OnHolding, ticker symbol ONON. Don't know exactly what it is. Look at the volume shelf over here. Still trying to bring about this big giant volume shelf over here. This whole chart looks like Riot, to be honest. Like, the span a whole year is kind of going sideways. If you look at the way that it's behaving, it looks like a big giant cup and handle, trying to form a little bit of a smaller handle over here too. Potentially another smaller handle over here until it's so microscopic that it breaks out. Maybe that's what it's trying to do. But I like the fact that it's trying to form these like cup and handle, and the resistance is clearly on top of this volume shelf over here. The top of the volume shelf over here is around like 36. Oh, super comfy shoes. Okay, good to know. Let's put some of the indicators, look at it. My favorite, Ichimoku Cloud, bullish cross, price above Tenkan, price above Kijun. Tenkan is right there. Nothing to dislike about it. Pretty bullish formation. Got back above Tenkan. I don't like the fact that Tenkan is like kind of going down a little bit. It might not be very good support, but it's above of it. You know, that it's a nice signifying like a nice kind of bull trend. Overall, you have more higher lows, higher highs than lower low and lower highs. If you look at the Bollinger Band, it's also very, very nicely cupping the price to go up, right? Yeah, you're going to get some pretty decent support. And if it doesn't hold over here for whatever reason, if the smaller handle over here decide to go down further to form a little bit of a bigger handle, you have support zone around like 30, you have support zone around like 28-ish, and you also have a rising 20-month moving average just kind of pointing up. Looking pretty decent, actually. And if you look at the bull market support band, it's just getting support right there by the bull market support band. Like overall, it's a very bullish setup. Most likely, it's going to end up breaking higher. Doesn't end up doing anything evil and like backtest some of these volume shelves down here. Possible. There's never any guarantee, right? But I like the fact that the buying volume has been pretty decent. Anyway, I think that's kind of all I have to really. Actually, before I say that, 2-week Ichimoku Cloud, we're not really showing me anything here. But yeah, I mean, I think it's overall it's looking pretty decent. I know that it's going to be a bull trend because if I pull up, I don't even need to like pull out these indicators. I know it's going to be a bull trend. 20 above 50 above 100, confirmed. It's a weekly bull trend. I was asked about Snap, and I would never tell you what to do. I would never tell you what to do. I just talked about GME. I'm not convinced about it. I think it's still stuck in the range going down. Yeah, if you want to look at earlier in my stream, I think at the beginning of my stream, I talked a little bit about GME. I'm just going to ignore it because the technicals are tricky and I don't really see any like true bottoming behavior or anything like that when I just looked at it just now. Snapchat, I mean, I just don't like to be in Snapchat, but if you want to be, it does look like it's forming like a cup in a smaller cup. It does look like this is like all maybe more like a little bit of accumulation range. What is are the institutions even interested in Snapchat? Let me look. I hope this is helpful, by the way. This saves me a lot of typing. Yeah, 50%, 51% institutional ownership is pretty decent. And if you look at the Fintel.io data, ever since December, no, not December, I guess ever since like the beginning, maybe like Q2 or so, 2023, there's some, increase in accumulation, which I think goes, maybe it goes along with why you have, a little bit of a pretty decent, kind of uptrend over here. It's just formed like, a higher high over here, a little bit of higher low over here, even though this candle over here with like earnings last time was just absolutely brutal on high volume too. One thing I do worry about, I have to warn you this. One thing and this is a short-term kind of thing, one thing I do worry about, and this may not play out, is I am worried about a falling 3 pattern, where you have a big red candle, you have 3 candles trying to break above it, exhausting a lot of bullish energy. The next thing you know is followed by like a big giant red candle, right? This is like an example for that. I don't want to click. Yeah. Anyway, this is like an example for that. I hope you can see, right? You can see these things, right? I am a little bit worried that is what is maybe trying to do, especially if earnings is around the corner, or it may not end up doing that. It might end up breaking above, right? Because overall, it does seem like institutions seem to be increasing their buys, but it doesn't necessarily mean that something nasty won't happen. Because I do worry a little bit about this this issue over here. Yeah, if Danny thinks it's overbought, but Danny also looks at daily too, right? Keep that in mind. Like there's very much a possibility that it's overbought on daily, and it's just the bulls are really kind of getting exhausted trying to get above this, reverse this big giant red candle over here, and you might end up having another red candle down like this. Let me see. I think I might have saw that recently on PayPal. It's something like this. Like I worry about that. Especially like with earnings coming up, I do worry about that. So like, am I going to enter Snapchat? I probably won't. It's not my type of stocks anyway. If you look at the Ichimoku Cloud, looking pretty decent, looking like it's staying above the Tenkan line here. You really want to see it back testing Tenkan and find support and going up. But it already kind of oscillated around here for long enough. I don't mind that, but I do think that there's a potential that this might not hold. It might back test down here or even go down further depending on what earnings shows. I always get worried about Snapchat when it comes to earnings. So, they just had earnings. Okay, all right. Well, there you have it. It's hitting some resistance over here, so we'll see what happens next month. If it breaks above these candles over here, I like how it's looking on the Ichimoku Cloud, and I also like the 2-week too. I see what you guys are saying. You see what I'm saying, right? I don't even have to talk. Like, just look at the 2-week Ichimoku Cloud over here. Got rejected over here. Boom, right? Went sideways over here. Good earnings. Finally pushed inside the Ichimoku Cloud here convincingly. You might have something here. I mean, like, is price going to go down to like back test some of this stuff like the Tenkan Kijun or maybe even the bottom of the cloud? All these things are possible, right? But this is a bullish development for a longer term. Like, I would still not enter here after a big giant green candle at resistance. Like, that's just not me. And I don't really like, Snapchat anyway. Like, this is like basically you're just hitting resistance over here. Like, why would I enter here? But I can see this being a potentially bullish development. What's the weekly doing? Weekly is also looking pretty decent. Broke through the cloud, back test the cloud, found support at the cloud, bounced on high volume too. But again, you're hitting resistance here, so be careful. Yeah, like if you look at the daily RSI, like what the heck is this? Like gap up. Anyway, if you look at the daily RSI, if you really want to, see like overbought condition, yeah, it's overbought. Yeah, it's overbought. Can things stay overbought for a while and keep going up? Sure. The more I look at this, I'm actually more favorable of it. Longer term. Not short term, because I don't know what it's going to do short term. But short term, it can totally come back down and test some of the stuff down here. That's entirely possible. There's no guarantee that it's going to push above this, resistance over here, because I always worry, like, look at how much price history is over here. Ever since the inception of Snapchat, you're talking about this big giant volume shelf over here. You're talking about right now you're getting back to the top of this volume shelf, right? I think I'm a little bit scared. If it breaks above, good for the bulls. But yeah, I'm not gonna be it. Hopefully that answers your question about Snapchat. AVGO. I don't even know what to say about this. I mean, it's like I see this. I know that it's been going up. I've seen this chart before, and it just looks like an absolutely insane chart. All I can say is it's just going sideways because it got way too far above the monthly Tenkan, and that's what it does. When it got way far above the Tenkan, it just had to go sideways here a little bit before bullish continuation. You have a lot of stars over here. If you worry about like a tri-star thing, where it could be potentially a reversal and go back down to get closer to the Tenkan over here, there's always a possibility, but overall, I think things are just trying to go sideways. I think the correlate over here may be similar to like something over here, Is the 2-week going to show me anything? Probably not. Yeah, it's just going sideways. If you don't go by the regular Ichimoku cloud, you go by the Super Ichi cloud. If I can pull it up, it's not too far off from the Tenkan on the Super Ichi cloud. And if you believe more in the Super Ichi cloud, which is tighter, it's very possible that you already kind of, found like a local bottom over here. It's ready to go up higher. But there are these kind of, like doji candles over here. I do worry these doji candles. Sometimes they could be like short-term reversal candles and go back down. Kind of like I see these like kind of like little doji over here. It does get me worrisome, but it doesn't have to. It can be bullish continuation here too. I favor this being consolidation sideways on a bull market. I don't think that this is COVID. I don't think that's going to happen again. I favor this being something like this, right? And before bullish continuation, I think it just needed to cool down after like these big giant candles over here. Looking at the bull in Japan tells you a story, right? On the monthly, close 4 months above the upper bull in Japan, cool down for 3 months, close 3 months above the upper bull in Japan, cool down for 3 months. It's really no big deal. 20-month moving average is still very, very strongly pointing up. The month of April, this doji candle over here is declining in volume. It's just indecision. It's just going sideways. I would say that with these kind of doji, I favor continuation of the primary trend, which is bull trend. Yeah, it's finding support at the bull market support band over here too. Like all of this stuff is like not surprising. Like it's a bull trend, it's consolidation. It's just simply got way too far, way too fast, and it just needed to consolidate here a little bit. Looking at the bull market support band, it looks like it could be sideways for another couple of weeks before going up higher. That might be my guess, kind of like over here. That might be my guess, but it's just anybody's guess. I hope you get some nice wet food today. I do like Affirm. I do like Palantir setup near term. I did talk about Palantir earlier. I'm still, very, very much happy about that. QuantumScape. Oh man, you're talking about this bottom tick right here, or are you talking about some other like time frame? I think this is basically the same thing as Unity. Yeah. I mean, I think under $5, like this is the thing. Like I think institution, like you can see, the institution is probably buying around this range over here. Institution sets the floor, right? I'm not sure if they have quite strong institutional presence. I remember looking at it. I remember I didn't hate it. Yeah, 30%. What? Oh, there you go. Yeah, 30% is just kind of going sideways in terms of institutional interest, to be completely honest with you. But overall, the trend is up, even though the stock has just been like plummeting. I think this is more or less kind of a little bit more like a bottoming behavior. There's no guarantee of bottom though, right? I mean, if you have to, this looks just like Unity, to be completely honest with you. Like this looks like a little bit of a wedge. Whenever it breaks above the wedge, great. If it doesn't, hey, it can go down further. It can break down through the floor, and whatever it wants to do. It doesn't look like it's wanting to do that because the volume so far looks more accumulative than anything, right? Selling volume is low, buying volume is high. Selling volume is declining, buying volume is high. send volume is quite low here, right? So overall, it looks like it's like an accumulative kind of thing. Because of that, I think that the support over here is probably going to be pretty decent, around like $5. You see all these wicks over here. This looks just like Unity. I don't have anything else to say. If you look at all the other indicators, they're going to, Super Ichi looks absolutely horrible. But if you look at the Ichimoku, I mean, it's just like Unity is like, way below the Tenkan. It's back tested the Tenkan a couple times, try and break above, not able to do that. I wonder what it looks like on the 2-week. Yeah, still not the cloud. If you look at the 20-month moving average, it's still pointing like down. It's maybe a little bit more flattening, but there's no confirmation. But overall, the volume is favorable. This is still accumulation. Sometimes it only takes a couple candles for you to really reverse something like this. So I'm not really that worried about it. I think there were some other chart requests before. I'm sorry if I missed anything from earlier in the chart. I talked about the Chinese stocks earlier in the earlier video. I think there was a question about BTI. I'm not sure if you're still around, Toby, but TBI, British American Tobacco Industries. High dividend play. I probably wouldn't enter it because the 20-month average is still crawling down. There's no confirmation for a bottom. Although I do like this little rounded look over here, but there's really no confirmation, unfortunately. I don't know when it's going to bottom. I just don't know. And if you also look at the Ichimoku cloud, same thing, right? It just keeps getting rejected by a downtrending Tenkan. So I don't know when it's going to bottom, though. That's the thing. In order for me to be more confident about something that could potentially be bottoming, one thing I look at is the RSI. I was trying to look for, see if there's any bullish divergence that might be happening. I guess you can see there might be some bullish divergence here for the longer term, because price just kind of gone down here when the RSI is trending up a little bit here. I guess there's some bullish divergence over here, but yeah, like on the 2-month you see some bullish divergence, but I mean there's no guarantee it's bottom. Because price can keep going down on bullish divergence. It doesn't have to do what you think it does. But on the shorter term trend, maybe a little bit of bullish divergence over here on the 2-week chart. So it's nice to see these things, but I just don't know whether or not I can really confirm a bottoming process, I guess is what I'm trying to say. Looking better though. If you want to catch a falling knife, I think this might be a good spot to do it. There's no guarantee, there's no confirmation, but I'm not Danny. Sometimes I catch falling knives. I think it's fine. As long as it's definitely, the reward's definitely going to be a lot higher as opposed to buying up here. And if they pay a high dividend, you might be able to just wait it out and get your dividends anyway. That's one way to kind of look at it. But yeah. Let's see what else you guys are asking for. I think somebody asked for Solana. Ooh, Bitcoin's going up again. It's the weekend pump. It's probably going to go back down to 63, 62,000 by Monday. But Solana 144. I bet you're happy. I posted about Solana actually recently. There are a few things I see quite favorable on Solana. One thing is it's just been forming these inside candles where it's just basically just consolidating. If you look at the Ichimoku cloud, it looks very, very favorable. It has a bullish cross over here on the monthly back in March of 2024. And it is getting very close to the Tenkan, so I don't think it has to correct that much further anymore. It's one of the stronger altcoins, definitely. And right now, price kind of bounced away from this range. It's kind of entering the bottom of this, infantile Ichimoku cloud over here that's just starting to form. So I like the way it looks actually. It's not really that overbought considering that this is a pretty hot crypto, and if anything, I do see a little bit of a hidden bullish divergence when price went up and RSI got reset. So actually, I think there's room for Solana to go up a lot higher, and I thought it would go up a lot higher. So yeah, I mean, I think right now it would not be a bad spot to buy. Again, I'm not here to tell you what to do because this is all just me talking, but it looks pretty decent. Look at the Bollinger Band, you know, basically closed way above, cool down here for a month. Right now it's inside. I think it's ready to go. Potentially. A lot of altcoins actually look very similar. They're different levels, but I think they've been basically just back testing things. I mean, I can go through like altcoin after altcoin after altcoin, but they're basically just like back testing things, and they look like they're finding some pretty solid footing, and they're potentially, you know, able to kind of go back above a lot further. So Solana is one of those. I think it's looking pretty decent. What else did you ask for? Oh, BTC. I made a video about BTC earlier today. Tesla, I'm probably gonna have to look more into it. I kind of lost interest in Tesla after it's no longer like 140 bucks. I'm like, I don't care that much anymore. I'm just gonna shut off my brain. I'm just gonna buy. The truth is though, if you look at, let me see. Yeah, the truth is like the 2-week over here is a pretty decent like bullish engulfing candle over here, and on high volume too. So most likely it's going to end up at least going up to like, you know, mean revert up to the 210s, 214, somewhere around there. Probably be more likely scenario. If you look at the weekly, yeah, it looks like it already had mean reverted already, and it kind of initially got rejected at the declining 20-week moving average. But it's just the first try. I mean, I think there's a possibility that it could go a lot higher. I would not mind though if it ends up coming that down and close the gap before going up higher. But that's kind of what I'm seeing so far. I hate to kind of just do like half-ass like this. Another thing that's a little bit, you know, the same thing, right? Bull market support band includes a 20-week moving average is getting rejected over here. So I don't think it's gonna be like pushing up way too fast just like that, right? I think you're gonna feel a little bit of resistance over here before going up higher. Matter of fact, I would like it for it to go down. Like my favorite scenario would go down to like 160, 150, find like a little bit of like a higher low, and then push the price up higher over time. I'm not in a hurry, right? When it comes to this, the truth is, if you look at the 2-week Ichimoku cloud, and I showed this too on X, is that you are hitting, in addition to hitting a negatively sloping bull market support band, in addition to hitting a negative sloping 20-week moving average, you're also hitting the bottom of the Ichimoku cloud that has served as resistance for really closer to like a year now, right? Price has just gone down a year on declining volume, mind you. Price is going down on with the Ichimoku cloud as resistance for closer to a year. It's trying to bounce above, got rejected by the bottom of the cloud, and got rejected by the Tenkan here on the 2-week. That's okay. It's a bullish engulfing candle. There's a little bit more bullish energy left, probably. I don't mind like if it ends up going down and then eventually going back up. Like even if it does whatever it wants to do, as long as it doesn't make like a, you know, like a lower low, it can do whatever it wants to do. And even if it gets to the bottom of the cloud over here, that's still a lot of gains. You know, if it get bottom of the cloud get rejected, form another higher low before, you know, pushing up higher, I can wait. Like I don't really care. Bye, Anna. Thank you for asking stuff. Yeah, so yeah, the fintech stuff getting bullied. I like how SQ was yeah, sorry. I'm gonna try to do maybe a little bit more like dedicated Tesla video in a little bit. I don't want to get too ADD about it, but those were my initial thoughts. I think it's still hitting some pretty important resistance that needs to work out. But I think that this, you know, kind of like the bullish engulfing here in the 2-week may change things a little bit. I also think that this big giant wick over here might change things here a little bit. But I'll try to do maybe a little bit of dedicated Tesla video later. SQ, I'm just going to go through this real quick. And yeah, like to be honest, like the after hours like 7% gain, and then like you end up losing all of that. You know, it's like classic. I don't really care. Although it does suck, you know, if you are worried about that kind of thing short term. Still looking pretty favorable. You know, still above the Tenkan here on the monthly Ichimoku cloud. If you look at the 20-month moving average, it's still pointing up and it's still finding support right there, right? So the greater trend is fine. When price wicked down over here, you know, on like this crap recycled fake news, I bought, you know, and sure enough, it found support because the 20-month average is raising. So most likely they're going to find support over here. And sure enough, it did, right? It did end up, you know, having a little bit of a fake out to kind of push price above, but, you know, it didn't end up working out, but that's okay. It just means that if you're interested in this stalking and buy more, it's unfortunate, but you look at below my support band, you know, initially it looked like it was going to find support over here. It broke down below that, but that's okay. Like things just kind of oscillate. Sometimes if it can oscillate between the below my support band, it doesn't really mean anything. The overall thing, though, that is not necessarily favorable, if I remember correctly, is the weekly trend. You still don't quite have the 50 crossing the 100. And like I said, like it bounced from the 100, you know, week moving average, which is essentially very close to like the 20-month moving average. But you don't quite have like a full bull trend. I think if you're able to get a full bull trend, maybe that's what SQ is kind of waiting for, is still kind of consolidating, back testing some of this stuff before going up higher. It's not unhealthy, to be honest with you. And I can wait. I haven't done the 2-week Ichimoku cloud. I'm very interested in seeing this. Yeah, so basically what it's doing is it looks like it's just not having enough energy to break inside the cloud. Looks like post earning it has a chance to do that, but it just ended up getting rejected on the 2-week. And that's okay. Sometimes it just takes more tries to break inside an Ichimoku cloud. You know, sometimes it just doesn't work out right away, you know, but sure enough, like right now, I still think it's a pretty decent spot to buy. I bought some, you know, on the fake news, I think a couple of days ago, where there's like criminal charges and things like that. It all turns out to be crap. Like my understanding was somebody recycled some old news. Hey, thank you so much for the $2. I appreciate that. Yeah, take care. Have a good one. I'm gonna like this. Yeah, so the fake news is like absolutely ridiculous. I think they're still trying to manipulate the stock. I think they're still trying to accumulate, is my guess. But it's weird. You're absolutely right. I did see a little bit of change here on the Blackhead fund flow. Initially, after that, you know, fake news, it was like the inflow was not that great. But right now, the trend is still up. Like the well inflows are still coming in. I think they're just trying to accumulate as much as they can before it goes up. And I think it will probably go up. Like looking like it's really trying to knock over this door here for a very, very long time. And I think this door will eventually break down. And when it breaks down, it's going to go up a lot higher. I do not understand the people who said that this is like a head and shoulder pattern. Like that actually doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to me. Where you think like the target is going to be like negative like 60 anyway. Yeah, it's just consolidating. It's just doing its shenanigans. I'm not really worried about it. Overall, if you look at it, it's still forming like a little bit of higher low on a higher time frame, right? So yeah, this is I'm still bullish on it. You know, I still hold a position and I still, you know, bought a little bit. I might end up buying more, you know, but there's just so many things that I like to buy now. So yes. Yeah, thank you for coming. Really appreciate APP. I'm gonna do this last one, APP, and then I'm gonna let you guys go. I can't believe I just did like a 2-hour stream. This is crazy. Yeah, I heard about APP. It's looking pretty decent. It's a V-shaped looking thing. The question is, when I'm looking at something like this, is the question is always, is there any trend exhaustion? And the best way I can look at it maybe is to look at the RSI. It certainly looks like it's entering overbought territory. I'm not seeing any bearish divergences here on the monthly. I'm not seeing any bearish divergences over here on the 2-week. I see some bearish divergences over here on the weekly because price went up and RSI went down, right? So I think in order to kind of work out this kind of bearish divergence, price can either correct down or it can just go sideways like it did over here. I don't know which way it's going to go, but I think that because of some weekly bearish divergence over here, I don't know about whether or not it's just going to keep going up parabolically. I think it probably needs some cooling down here for a little bit after this big giant move over here on bearish divergence. Don't get me wrong, price can go up a lot higher on bearish divergence. Next thing you know, it keeps on going up like this, and price can just keep going up like that, right? But if you're asking me whether or not there are any signs for trend exhaustion, maybe a little bit. I would not bet against this stock, though. It can just end up going sideways and consolidate, work out the RSI here a little bit, and next thing you know, it could end up going a lot higher. I don't like to chase when I see some signs of exhaustion here on a weekly, and I saw this with CleanSpark. I did not chase. I just end up staying in because I see it going a lot higher in the long term. I could probably trade in and out of these things because I do see things that I could make moves off, but it's hard for me to do that when I have like a day job. I'm just trying to look for longer term trends, but I can see this potentially needs either correction of time versus correction with price. Thank you so much for dropping by. Have a good one. Marina, have a good one. Yeah, so that's kind of what I would say about it, because otherwise, like, what are you looking at? Are you looking at like Fibonacci levels? Let's just put up the monthly over here if you want to look at targets. Because if you look at the 20-month moving average is pointing up, you know that because it's V-shape. If you look at the trend, it's a little bit, outside upper Bollinger Band over here. It looks like so far in the month of May is also already starting on the upper part of the upper Bollinger Band, a little bit outside of it. So it's a little bit chasey, even though if you want to get to it. But again, it can keep on just getting exhausting, and just keep going up. I just don't like to chase because whenever you have a look like this, you might end up going sideways for a lot longer than you think, like it did down here, right? If you look at the yeah, I don't think each move class can tell you anything. Bullish cross over here is going to keep going up. Like the bull trend might have just got started like for the last year. It probably would go up a lot higher, but it could take time. Sorry. If you look at the Fibonacci levels, I guess it's probably what you're asking. If I look at like the all-time high to the low, that's also another thing to be cautious too. Is hitting the 0.618 Fibonacci level. That's the golden ratio. Let me take a sip of water. Is hitting the golden ratio right here, which generally can serve as pretty strong support or resistance. So when things are a little bit overextended and it hitting 0.618, I would be a little bit more cautious. I probably won't chase. If you chase, it might be okay. It might just keep going. I don't want you to like lose opportunity to make money, but there is a possibility where you might experience short-term pain, but long-term gain. I guess that's the kind of way for me to look at it. All right, guys. I have talked for more than 2 hours. Thank you so much for joining my live chat. I do chart altcoins. I'm just going to do this one here real quick because there is a request for that, and just to look at it. Yeah, I mean, I don't know what to I don't know what to make of it right off the bat because it does look like it's forming a very, very nice double bottom and back test. This actually looks like a couple of altcoins that I own, actually. I take that back here. Looks like it's forming a double bottom, broke a belt over here. Let me see if I can find some volume data. I'm going to do this last one, and I'm going to get the heck out of here. Does Bitfinex have volume data? Yeah. Bitfinex. Weekly. Yeah, I really can't tell in terms of volume. Like, it's not really giving me a whole lot of information over here. Bitfinex is not that good at it. But if you look at it weekly, it's very clear in terms of what it's doing. Double bottom, broke above, back test. That's what it's doing. That's what a lot of altcoins are doing. A lot of altcoins that I hold are doing like the same thing, like Cortesi. It's doing the same thing. You know, I'm seeing like, you know, Cody is doing a very similar thing. ADA is doing a very similar thing, right? Double bottom, back test. Like, that's what altcoins are all doing right now. I would say Shiba is maybe a little bit more further above. It's trying to backtest maybe this level over here. Dogecoin is trying to backtest this double bottom. Like, that's what they're all, you know, really kind of doing. That's Link. Yeah, and like even with Avalanche is kind of back testing some of the, you know, breakout levels over here. So that's what a lot of altcoins are doing, really. It's just kind of like the generic look for altcoins. I don't think there's anything, you know, that stood out to me per se, but I like the fact that it's probably one of the stronger ones based on what I'm seeing. But anyway, I think we've kind of talked long enough. Thank you so much for tuning in. You guys have a good one. I will try to do one of these maybe in the future. Take care. Bye.